Hello there, give me 1 second. Oh, why do I look like that? 1 second, let me fix my webcam. Let me use this instead. All right, perfect. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, perfect.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Like, sorry for joining like so late. Like, I promise I was like here early, and then like as soon as I tried to start my video, like Zoom just like crashed completely. And I
No,
had
you're good.
to restart, but technology, am I right?
Well, you kind of glitched out there, but it, I'm not sure if it's on my side. So, can you still hear me?
Always. Never cooperated.
Hello. Is it possible to enable screen sharing for everybody? Because I
Absolutely.
have two devices.
Got it. I'm actually gonna go ahead and turn off my camera just because I think that's causing some bandwidth problems. Give me 1 second. But I can
Okay.
only enable screen sharing for you. For the second screen that you have open?
Yes, the one
Yeah,
with the camera off.
gotcha. Okay, so make that a co-host. All right, so I just made that one co-host, so you should be able to share. Um, yep, you should be good to go. Let me know when you're ready to start, and I can give like a formal introduction and everything.
Okay, perfect. I am officially ready.
All right, sounds good. Awesome. I'm going to turn on my camera in hopes that I don't have any issues with Zoom this time. But hi everyone, thank you so much for joining. We're super grateful that you're here and joining us for this time. Today we'll be having our July webinar, and just for a quick introduction, my name is Brianna and I'm the partnerships assistant for Mind Out Loud. So as always, if you have any questions, I will be submitting the Q&A form during the talk so that any students who have any questions can pop them into that form. And if you don't want to fill out the form, feel free to pop them in the chat as well, and we'd be happy to answer as much as we can. And as always, we'll have our feedback form that any attendees can fill out towards the end of the workshop, just to let us know if you enjoyed the webinar, what you'd like to see a little bit more of in the future. And yeah, so without further ado, I'm going to introduce our workshop host for today. So today we have Samriddhi Garlanka, who is a rising junior in Fresno, Texas, and she is the founder of Miss Nurture, which is a nonprofit organization that aims to raise awareness for vitamin deficiencies in young women. And through this initiative, she aims to break the stigma surrounding female health education and bridge the gap between lack of awareness and vitamin deficiencies. In her free time, she enjoys spending time with her dog, reading and painting, and she also enjoys pretty impressively playing the piano and the harp. So without further ado, I'll pass it off to our host for today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, everyone. I'm so thankful for the opportunity to be here today. My name is Samriddhi Garlanka, and today we'll be going over nutritional psychology. Okay, so first up, it was already done, but I want to reintroduce myself. So I am the founder of Miss Nurture, which is a registered student-led nonprofit where we raise awareness for vitamin deficiencies in young women across the world. And we do this through several methods, including collaborating with Texas legislature, other international nonprofits, leading workshops similar to this one, and our social media campaigns where we post about specific vitamins and how they can impact society as well. So, if you want to learn more, I recommend following our Instagram, which is at the top left corner. And if you want to make an even bigger impact, we have officer positions that are opening up soon. So, feel free to check those out as well. So here's kind of an overview of what we'll be discussing today. So we'll be going over four main subtopics of nutritional psychology. Number one being the foundations, which is kind of the basics and importance of it. Next, we'll be talking about the history of it developing, and then key nutrients, and we'll talk a little bit about macro and micronutrients, and then finally the gut-brain connection, which I'm not going to spoil, but it's basically what you think it means. And then, yeah, if you have any questions, our chartering executive and our outreach coordinator should be joining soon. So feel free to drop those questions in the chat and they will get back to you as well. So before we get started, I'm not sure, but if you guys want to answer in the chat, what are some things that come to mind when you first think about nutritional psychology? I'll give you a minute or so. Yeah, that's a great answer. I personally think of how food might impact the way I feel. That is basically exactly what nutritional psychology is. It's connecting what we eat to how we feel. So, so let's dive in. So, first, what is nutritional psychology? So, according to the Center for Nutritional Psychology, it's this long plethora of words. So, I'm going to give you all a couple seconds to read it. Okay, so that was a lot, but let's break it down. So, a burgeoning, which means flourishing or growing a lot, interdisciplinary, that means multifaceted or involving multiple things. Interconnections is the relationship between our diet, and then if you see from psychological to neurodevelopmental, that's the entire list, is all different aspects of a human's mental health. So, in simple terms, nutritional psychology is the study of how our diet affects our mood, behavior, and mental health. So it's about understanding the connection between what we eat and how we feel. So our brains are incredibly active organs, and they're constantly processing information and managing our emotions and our body's function. And to do all this, our brain requires a steady supply of energy and nutrients. And when we eat, we're providing our brain with the fuel it needs to function properly. So I feel like this has happened to most of us at some point. But when we eat a sugary snack and it gives us a quick burst of energy, but then you feel a little bit like tired or cranky later, but this is because of like simple carbs like sugar that can cause rapid spikes and drops in your blood sugar levels, which that can affect your mood and energy. But on the other hand, complex carbs that are found in foods like whole grains and vegetables provide a more steady release of energy, and that helps maintain our stable blood sugar levels and mood. And that's just like one example of how our food can impact our brain and our mental state. But it's not just about energy. The brain also relies on specific nutrients to produce what we call neurotransmitters, which are chemicals that transmit signals between nerve cells. And these neurotransmitters play a crucial role in regulating our mood, our sleep, and our cognitive function. And for example, the neurotransmitter called serotonin, you may have heard of it before, but it's often called the feel good hormone, and it's produced from the amino acid tryptophan, which we can get from foods with high protein. So, nutritional psychology as a whole explores how different foods can influence our mental state by affecting the brain's structure, function, and chemistry. But like why is this all important? Why do we need to know this? But number one is our mental health. So there's a lot of research that shows that a poor diet can increase the risk of mental health issues, including depression and anxiety. But on the other hand, a healthy diet that's rich in essential nutrients can help support mental well-being and even improve symptoms of existing mental health conditions. For example, omega 3 fatty acids that are found in fish and flax seeds have been shown to have mood stabilizing effects that could help reduce the symptoms of depression. So, number two, we have cognitive function. So, what we eat can also affect our cognitive abilities, basically, our thinking skills, including memory, our attention span, our decision making. And I feel like we've all grown up at some point hearing about how healthy foods can help us be smarter. But the science behind that is that diets that were rich in saturated fats and sugars are linked to poor performance, while diets rich in fruits and vegetables and whole grains, proteins can help support our brain health and our cognitive function. I know I was reading about it the other day, but antioxidants that are found in berries not only help protect our brain cells, but they can also help with symptoms of Alzheimer's. So basically, a diet rich in healthy foods can enhance our cognitive function and our brain health, but foods with saturated fat and sugar are associated with poor like cognitive performance. And then number three is our behavior and mood. So our diet can influence our mood and behavior in both the short term and the long term. And this kind of ties back to our mental health, how certain foods can help regulate our blood sugar levels, and this kind of prevents our mood swings and irritation. So nutrients like magnesium and zinc can help stabilize our mood and reduce our anxiety. And then number 4, we have overall well-being. By understanding this connection between our diet and our mental health, we as individuals can make better choices about what we choose to eat. So even small changes to include more nutrient-rich foods in our diet can have an overall bigger impact on how we feel, both physically and mentally. So, to understand the development of nutritional psychology, we need to take a look back at its roots and early discoveries. And the relationship between our diet and our mental health has been observed for several centuries, but it was not like scientifically explored until the 20th century. So, one of the earliest instances of recognizing the link between our diet and our mental health comes from ancient Greeks. So, Hippocrates, who is often referred to as the father of medicine, he famously said, "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." And he kind of used this at that time to emphasize the importance of nutrition to prevent or cure disease. And then fast forward to the 20th century, and we start to see more scientific investigations like into nutritional psychology. So in the 1930s, Dr. Weston A. Price, who was a dentist, conducted extensive research on the diets of various indigenous populations. And his findings were those who consumed traditional diets that were rich in whole and unprocessed foods had not only better dental health, but also fewer instances of mental health issues compared to those who adopted Western diets that were high in processed foods and sugars. And this is kind of a turning point in the history of nutritional psychology. And then we have in the mid 20th century, scientists began to identify specific nutrition deficiencies that could lead to mental health problems. So, for instance, the connection between vitamin B12 deficiency and cognitive decline was established. And patients with severe B12 deficiencies suffered from symptoms like memory loss, confusion, and even depression. So, in more recent decades, the field of nutritional psychology has grown rapidly, and this is thanks to advances in research methods, which led to a better understanding of our brain and its connection to nutrients. So, like just one significant development in this field was the study of dietary patterns. So, for example, the Mediterranean diet, which is rich in fruits, whole grains, nuts, olive oil, has been often associated with lower rates of depression. And research suggests that the like anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties of the specific diet play a key role in protecting our brain health. But there's also been more modern technology that has allowed researchers to conduct large-scale epidemiological studies, which have also been produced or provided mass evidence linking diet and mental health. And researchers now have access to the extensive databases and long-term cohort studies. And I think one is the NHANES, which is the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey. So yeah, it's kind of long, but these databases collected detailed information on our dietary habits, our health outcomes, and other variables. And this allows researchers to identify the correlations and trends. So that these big data techniques help identify patterns and relationships between diet and mental health that may not be as apparent in smaller studies. So in this photo, there's a graph of the prevalence of obesity in America throughout the years, and we can kind of see an increasing trend. And it's because of databases like these that conducting the research behind these graphs are possible. And there's also other technologies, including functional MRI, which is the functional magnetic resonance imaging. And this allows researchers to observe brain activity in real time. I mentioned earlier how omega-3 fatty acids can influence brain regions associated with mood regulation, but it's these type of technologies that have made those discoveries possible. And another one is the PET scans, which are positron emission tomography scans. And these show images of our brain metabolism and our neurotransmitter activity. And I also mentioned earlier about how serotonin and dopamine are neurotransmitters, but it's these PET scans that are used to study how our diet can impact our neurotransmitter levels. And that is crucial for our mood and behavior. So, the general point is that the field of nutritional psychology has come a long way from its early observations to the sophisticated research we see today. And I know talking about these technologies has been very heavily science-based. So, before we transition into something a little bit more personable, I'm just going to ask this question. You can either unmute or put it in the chat. But what is one example of a food that you think might affect your mood or mental health, and why do you think it has that effect? So I'm going to give a couple seconds. Yeah, so immediately I think of fast food. It's always made me feel so crappy after eating it. Yeah, fast food is a great example because it has high saturated fats. But I was thinking the first thing I thought of was coffee. So it gives you energy for like maybe a couple hours, but then after that, I feel like immediately exhausted. And I feel the need to have another cup to kind of replenish that energy. But that's just me. And I'm a coffee lover, even though I know how bad it is for me. But coffee forever. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about macronutrients. So this includes carbs, proteins, and fats, and each of these has a crucial role in supporting our mental health. So carbs are our body's main source of energy, and they play a significant role in our brain function. But not all carbs are created equal. So there's complex carbs, which are found in whole grains, vegetables, and they provide a steady and sustained release of energy. And this helps maintain our stable blood sugar levels, which is very important for our mood regulation. But then there's also simple carbs, which aren't as good for you, and they're found in sugary snacks, sodas, and pastries, all sorts of junk food. And it can cause rapid spikes and crashes in our blood sugar levels. So these fluctuations can kind of lead to feelings like fatigue and moodiness. So basically, it's best to limit our simple carbs and focus more on our healthy and complex carbs. And then we have protein, which is essential for building and repairing our body's tissues, including those in our brain. So, proteins are made up of amino acids, which are essential for the production of neurotransmitters. And I talked about tryptophan earlier and serotonin. But tyrosine, which is another amino acid that's found in foods like eggs, dairy, soy products, and meats. And it's important for the production of dopamine, which is involved with our mood and our motivation as well as our alertness. So, quick tip, if you're a student and you feel like I'm a student too, so if you feel like you need a focus to study or lock in for like a really focused study session, eat foods with tyrosine in it to help with that, which is like dairy foods and soy. And then we have fats, which are crucial for our brain health, especially our omega-3 fatty acids, which are found in fatty fish and like salmon and sardines. But I'm a vegetarian, so
Just a second. I believe that she was having technical difficulties.
Okay. So here, do you want me to just keep going?
Yeah, feel
Are
free.
we-
Go ahead.
Can you see the screen and hear me?
Yeah, I can. Everything's perfect.
Okay, perfect. So then we were talking a little bit about micronutrients, which includes our vitamins and minerals. And so number one, we have vitamin D, which is often called the sunshine vitamin, and it's linked to mood regulation. And lower levels of vitamin D are associated with depression and seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. And we can get vitamin D from sunlight, fatty fish, egg yolks, and fortified foods like milk and cereal. So, especially during the winter months, or for those who live in areas with less or limited sunlight, it might be necessary to consider vitamin D supplements to maintain adequate levels. And then number two, we have B vitamins, which includes B6, B12, and folate, which are all essential for our brain's health, and they produce neurotransmitters and support our metabolism. And they can be found in foods like meats, dairy, and potatoes. Vegetarians and vegans should consider fortified foods or supplements as well to ensure the adequate B12 intake. And then we have antioxidant vitamins, which is vitamin C and E, and they help protect our brain cells from damage and stress. And they can be found in citrus fruits like strawberries, as well as bell peppers. And they support the immune system and our brain's functions. So now we are officially transitioning into our final subtopic for today, the gut brain connection. And to kind of understand this, we need to first understand that the gut is often referred to as the second brain. And it has its own nervous system called the enteric nervous system, or the ENS. And the ENS consists of over 100 million nerve cells that line against the gastrointestinal tract from the esophagus to the rectum. And this extensive network allows the gut to operate independently and interact with our central nervous system, which is our brain and our spinal cord. So now let's go more into detail about how our gut-brain connection influences our psychological state, our behavior, and our mental health. So a significant amount of serotonin, which again is a neurotransmitter that helps regulate our mood, our appetite, our sleep, and it's produced in our gut. So, imbalances in our gut bacteria can influence our serotonin production, which can lead to mood disorders like depression and anxiety. And studies have actually shown that people with depression often have a different composition of gut bacteria compared to those without depression. And this kind of suggests that maintaining a healthy gut can play a role in preventing or reducing the symptoms of mood disorders. And then the gut brain connection also plays a crucial role in the body's stress response. And when we experience stress, the brain sends signals to our gut, which can lead to symptoms like stomach pain, nausea, or changes in our bowel habits. And a disrupted gut can send signals to the brain, which increases feelings of anxiety. And in humans, there's evidence that probiotics, which is a good type of bacteria, can provide cognitive function and or can improve our cognitive function and reduce our symptoms of depression and anxiety. And kind of in the research world, this opens up potential new avenues for treating those mental health disorders through dietary interventions and therapies. And there actually have been studies where children with autism have a different gut bacteria composition compared to neurotypical children. And these differences in gut bacteria um, are believed to contribute to the gastrointestinal issues that are commonly seen in children with autism, and that can in turn influence their behavior and their cognitive function. So that kind of wraps up everything we want to go over today. So let's do a quick recap. So, first, we talked a little bit about what nutritional psychology is and how our diet impacts our mental health and behavior. And then we covered a little history as well as some modern technologies that have been used in this field. And then we talked a little bit about several nutrients, macro and micronutrients, and how they can impact our bodies internally. And then we finally discussed about the gut brain connection and how imbalances in our food and hormones can lead to stress and mood changes. So, if there's one thing I want you guys to take away from this workshop, it's this that practicing mindful eating habits can help you tune into your body's signals and make healthier food choices, which can further support your mental health. And I feel like we've all grown up hearing that eating healthy is good for you, but I hope this presentation and kind of gives you insight on why is it good for you. And with that being said, I want to conclude with this quote from Francois de la Rochefoucauld, which I hope is the right pronunciation. But to eat is a necessity, but to eat intelligently is an art. So thank you guys for listening. It means the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that. It was really insightful. I like especially like the portion we talked a little bit more about how like food of course has like a super, like large impacts on like our health. And like interestingly enough, when I was working on my like master's thesis, I focused a little bit on like I guess you could say like nutritional epidemiology. I feel like it's a pretty like new-ish kind of field.
Yeah.
And I wanted to focus a lot, and I actually ended up writing my thesis on essentially how food insecurity essentially impacts like immigrants, because as you may know, a lot of immigrants coming into the country, regardless of where they're from, they come to the United States, and unfortunately they don't have access to healthy food. And while we might not see the impacts like right now, I feel like it's certainly it's going to have a very serious impact for them in terms of like their mental health, their physical health down the line. So it was very interesting to like learn up a little bit about that more, and I'm super glad to see that you were able to talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, thank you. When you mentioned immigrants, it kind of took me back to a story. So my parents were obviously immigrants, and they came here around 20 years ago. And they just told me that when they first set foot in America, they had no idea where to get food. So the first restaurant they went to was Olive Garden, and there they used to eat Olive Garden like every single day because they genuinely didn't know where else to find like healthy food and exactly how it worked here. So you're right. When immigrants first move here and they're still adjusting to the new environment, they often do suffer from nutritional deficiencies as well.
I think I'm back. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you right now.
Yeah, sorry about that. I honestly don't know what's going on with my Zoom today. Sorry about that.
Mhm. It's always technical
Oh,
issues.
wait, I can't hear you. I'm not sure if it's me. Hold on.
Here, I can hear
Um,
you okay.
let me Alrighty, I am back, and fingers crossed that is the last time that I have to exit the Zoom.
I can hear you now, though.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I believe you were about to tell a story right before I got kicked off of Zoom.
Oh, okay. You didn't hear it. Okay, okay. So, my parents, they came here around 20 years ago. They were immigrants from India, and they obviously they were new to this environment and they didn't know what to eat or where to eat or where to find food. So the first restaurant they went to was Olive Garden, and I remember they were telling me like we used to eat Olive Garden for a month because we genuinely like didn't know where to go for food.
Mhm.
So it just took me back to that because like when you first moved and you're trying to adjust to a new environment, you don't know where everything is. It's hard to find healthy food options as well. So, yeah.
No, for sure, for sure. And I even remember, like during one of my classes, and it sort of relates to what you were saying, that like there's this sort of thing called like the immigrant paradox, where essentially like immigrants coming from a different country, like they have like relatively good health when they first come here, but it seems like the amount of time that they spend, in the United States is correlated with like their, like physical health getting like worse and worse over time, which I'm like, honestly, not too surprised by, but it is a little bit unfortunate.
Yeah, I know like a lot of like other Asian diets and African diets are rich in like healthy foods, but here we have more like processed and like manufactured foods, and that like has a huge impact on a lot of factors.
No, honestly, it's like I feel like as a country, honestly, when it comes to like food and just making like smart choices, we definitely have to do better. But I feel like that
Yeah.
is uh a macro level thing that I don't think either of us will be able to make too much impact. At least not at this point in time. Hopefully in the future though.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, let me try to turn my camera back on just because I think my camera's messing with the bandwidth and causing me to get kicked off. But again, we really do thank you so much for being able to talk to our students about nutritional psychology today. And again, thank you and really do appreciate it. And I hope you have a great rest of your night.
Thank you. It was such a great opportunity to be here as well. Would you
Awesome.
want to get a quick photo before we log off?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Do
Okay.
you want to take it or do you want me to take it?
I can take it, but do you want me to share my screen with like nutritional psychology on it?
Yeah, perfect. That sounds great.
Okay. This might take a second.
Yeah, no worries. Take all the time you need. Let me just stop the recording.
Okay.